What new thing, what are we missing? What do we need to do to take advantage of AI that we don't currently do? Guys, we're here again for another Red Banner Team podcast. I'm here with my CFO and one of my best friends in the world, Brandon Fonts. And we just finished, what was it, Tuesday of last week?
Tuesday of last week.
Went to an AI event put on by Pam and Dennis Ranch. Phenomenal, incredibly well done event. And
highly impactful.
Yeah, I'm super proud of them for everything about that. And it just has us talking substantially and implementing at a fairly high level AI into what we do. And something that I walked into that one-day conference kind of like with my fist braced, ready to defend, is to hell with replacing human interaction with automated robocalls, all kind. Like if the next wave of real estate or any other professional service is, hey, AI will do it better, I so deeply believe that God created us in his image and that there's nothing ever under any circumstance that will replace fellowship and true self-sacrificial service, which is kind of the cornerstone of what we do professionally.
Ever. Yeah.
But I was blown away and super grateful. Every single one of the presenters at this event kind of reiterated the craving of the human soul for more relationship, even as social media has made, the advent of social media has made a culture that's more lonely than we've ever been before. And I think AI will only exacerbate that. But I had my mind humbled and open to how much we as hardworking professionals, as Christians, as men, as leaders, at every level could be benefited by a tool that could help us think faster, recall better, process like busy work faster, and just the responsibility of, if the tool is there, not to have a Luddite mentality of just like, hey, it's new technology, we don't understand it, therefore we're just going to put our heads in the ground and become obsolete. But you said something really brilliant earlier when we were talking about the gap. Can you run me through that again? Yeah,
elaboration on the gap, or at least the potential gap. I don't know if it, I mean, you know it when it actually starts to manifest, you know it when it plays itself out, is a response to new technology. And we just began implementing artificial intelligence in our industry. Like, obviously it's been applied in various different other fields, but in the real estate industry, this is a fairly new concept. Agreed?
Yeah.
Yeah, so as we begun to implement it, you and I are both highly ambitious people, right? And so when we began to implement it, we noticed that you were going through tasks more efficiently, quickly, and with greater accuracy. So what I was discovering as I'm sitting there wondering, what does this mean for the future for us? What does it mean for the industry as a whole? Is I ran 2 pilot programs down at the exact same time. Basically, I don't know what that fable is where he's sort of like trying to get to the other end of the mountain faster than the machine, and he's just like digging through the mountain. By the end, he beats it, but he's totally exhausted, and the machine can just keep going and going. But I'm running against this machine, and I'm trying to do a cost-benefit analysis for one of your clients, putting in all this material data, figuring out what the outcomes are. 2.5, 3 hours later, I achieve my net result, and then I input it into artificial intelligence, and it spits out the exact same accuracy, but with greater depth in about 5 minutes. So I'm wondering about this scenario as it's being applied both efficiently, accurately, and with significantly better speed than myself. What do you do with this newly found generated time that you have, where you no longer have to actually apply the legwork to get the exact same result? And as I was thinking about it, I was thinking for myself, I would also apply you into this category, that with this new time, what we're essentially going to be doing is we're going to be educating ourselves more. We're going to have new discoveries. We're going to have new insights. And we're going to constantly gravitate towards now we have more time to apply ourselves in all those other ambitions. Now, the other side of that is that when you create more time or you can accomplish a task significantly faster, the other personality will potentially become more lazy. They will potentially become more disconnected. They will have basically what we discovered from the smartphone, which is that their face is now plugged into this one thing, and they just sit there and they just do this for the remainder of their days. Artificial intelligence has the potential to create a chasm, a widening chasm between the two spheres of personality, where the ambitious now has the ability to reach new heights to their ambition, right? Only time will tell what we discover with that. But then the other side will then gravitate more towards the couch, more towards the digital, more towards the immaterial, and just say, hey, this is my life now because it's been so simplified. And I don't know if that means essentially that they give up completely. I don't know if it's that they find some other method of income. I don't know. You had mentioned the Dust Bowl back in the 1920s, 1930s. It could look something like that. I have a little bit more of an optimistic outlook because technology always has sort of navigated us towards a better lifestyle as it goes on. But that's not to say that that lifestyle prior to the upswing doesn't have a significant downturn before it heads up.
I would challenge the technology has always tended towards better. I don't know that anyone knows other than web traffic. But I don't know that anybody knows how many men are addicted to pornography across the world and across America. But the devaluing of marriage, the devaluing of womanhood, and really kind of the decay of relationships in general, I think is an undermining of individual character and personhood that is almost incalculable. So I'm not in any way saying internet's bad, technology is bad. I just don't think that it is all good. I want to drill down though on the gap. I think that what you said is a really astute observation. It's something that we should all take to heart. And I think we should always, it's easy to say, hey, we're ambitious, we're diligent, we're building companies. But I always want to say, hey, how does this apply to me? How can I internalize and be a better man, a better leader, a better Christian, a better husband as a result of this? And the thought is, are we going to let AI technology be used as a leverage point to take dominion and be faithful in the lives that God has given us and be better, faster, smarter, more effective at giving glory to God, building wealth, giving back to our communities? Or are we going to let it make us lazier and lazier and lazier? And I absolutely think that the gap between those that use AI as a leverage point to substantially pole vault and those that use AI as a leverage point to substantially grow in laziness and, frankly, addiction to all the things that AI is going to make more easy and more prevalent, whether it's gaming, porn that I mentioned earlier, whatever it happens to be, just simply addiction to like the dopamine cycle, is devastating and is tearing lives apart, and it's kind of like a silent killer all around us. And so one of the takeaways of just spending the last week learning a lot more about AI, how we can use it, and considering it in conversation, fellowship, and practical application is let's use and let's mentor those that we're teaching and urge everyone that we interact with to use AI as a tool for diligence, hard work, and not let it be a tool for laziness and apathy, because I think that gap over the next 20 years is going to widen to a point that it's astronomical.
I agree. I think what it's going to do is it's going to play into the person. It's going to turn up the natural personality traits that somebody has and give them
character traits
and give them a more extension of that. So if you have highly ambitious, highly capable people, if you institute a tool that makes their job more efficient, that makes their capabilities like expound significantly, they're not going to all of a sudden become lazy because this new tool invents itself. It's not going to work that. Yeah, they're just going to find different ways to be more creative, other avenues that they can explore. But on the other side of that, if you're always having a natural tendency towards laziness, towards just sort of drifting off into the nothingness that is a lifestyle that it can be, I believe it's going to facilitate any and all metrics that you need to use to end up in a lifestyle that really accomplishes nothing at all. You know what I mean? It certainly wouldn't be a lifestyle of knowledge, education, and intellect, because that's probably one of the things that artificial intelligence can do the best, is research, understand, know, and implement. And if you take that out of the necessity for you to do yourself, the possibility that it makes you just sort of dumbed down and uneducated is going to be significant. I discovered it like today when it was putting together a scenario where it did research for me. And then not only did it do research, it was able to summarize the findings of those research. And then I could simply just regurgitate those findings without having any understanding of to what it was.
Yeah.
I mean, I understood it, but I understood it because I had a foundation. But now it eliminates the necessity of that foundation, and you can still achieve the exact same goal. So that's where I really think that disconnect is going to start to grab. I mean, it's almost going to be like you're interacting with two different humans. If we fast forward 15, 20 years, we have to cycle through a generation, right? Because our generation knew how to dial a phone, right? Because that's what we did. And then we could talk on the phone for 30 to 45 minutes with our friend.
And we knew phone numbers.
Yeah, exactly. And you memorized phone numbers. Everybody knew their best friend's phone number by heart. So we have those traits. We're going to have to cycle through a generation, but the communication disconnect, the education disconnect, the capability disconnect between generations 2 jumps apart is going to be insane. It's going to be astronomical. So, I don't even know what it looks like, to be totally honest with you.
Nobody does.
Yeah.
Nobody does. And no one, anybody that says they do, doesn't know what they're talking about. Mm-hmm. One of the presenters at this AI summit, I thought was super helpful. They laid a timeline across the growth and absorption in the culture of the internet, mm-hmm. across the development and absorption basically of AI in our culture, and said that basically we're in 1995 of the development of the use of AI compared to the internet. So we're at the very beginning stage, which I think was a really helpful corollary. I want to look at that and encourage our friends and community to look at that in even a broader context. And what we were talking about earlier, the Industrial Revolution I was mentioning to my nephew earlier, every blacksmith in America that specialized in whatever they specialized in. Mm-hmm. Use the example of horseshoes. Horseshoes were a staple, completely irregardless of the fact that the automobile was taking over. If you're a blacksmith that's making horseshoes, you have multiple generations of blacksmiths in your family that have been making horseshoes on an anvil, at home, in a cottage industry, in a local community, and all of a sudden, a factory in Des Moines can stamp out millions of horseshoes, mm-hmm. with a machine. It completely changed the entire cottage industry of blacksmithing, and countless others overnight. And I believe that's exactly the same thing that's going to happen with AI. I mean, we have an entire generation. Just 5 years ago, everybody was saying, hey, get into coding. It's what is the most profitable, easiest way to become a millionaire. And that might overnight be deleted. I'm not a coder. I can't speak intelligently about that. What I do know is that just the simple things that we're using AI for, and the amount of time and money paying people that it's deleting, we're going to have an entire culture at some point that is in some level of upheaval over machines replacing humans. And I think it's absolutely key, vital to remember God created us in his image. There will always be a blessing for the diligent. There will always be a blessing for the innovative, for the wise. And I think that's why I was so struck by the wisdom of what you mentioned about this gap between, if we use AI as a tool to be more diligent, more industrious, more wise, versus more lazy, more distracted, the gap between those that use it wisely and those that become a slave to it, if you will, is going to really be a heartbreaking gap. And it's something that both of us are passionate about. Like, be wise with the time that God has given you, wake up early, work hard, and there will always be a blessing associated with that. Some of that blessing will come from our industry, might look completely different in 5 years. Might not. I have a lot of thoughts about that, but my thoughts are irrelevant. What the reality is if we stay light on our feet, if we are diligent, if we try to use the tools that God is like, that are happening here for God's glory, I believe there will always be a blessing associated with that. And I want to encourage everyone around us to use these as quickly as possible to the greatest leverage for your home, for your family, for your business, and fight with everything in you to not let it facilitate laziness.
Yeah, don't ever let a new technology substitute your ethics. Like always.
Or your relationships.
Or your relationships. Yeah, for sure. I think one of the things that people should really have, don't ever discount the acceleration capabilities of technology. And you have to, yes, we are at the beginning, and it's not too late to get involved. It's not too late to get educated. But if we recall, like taking into aviation technology, in Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, we pushed a paper plane off of a hill and went 100 yards in gliding aviation, and 50 years later, we landed on the moon. So the acceleration...
Allegedly,
for sure. Well, we at least launched a rocket before we couldn't see it anymore. The acceleration capabilities of technology is very, very massive. We went from microprocessor to Facebook in about 25 years. So getting involved now and utilizing the tool the way it's designed to benefit your life, not to supplement your life. And that's really where I think like the biggest dissection is going to come between the two and people's lifestyles and how they choose to use it. And the gap is going to be significant. I don't know how significant, and I don't know what it means, but I know it will be visible.
One of the biggest takeaways that I walked away from that summit with kind of an aha moment around is I've been banging my head against the wall. What new thing, what are we missing? What do we need to do to take advantage of AI that we don't currently do? And one of the things that was kind of a consistent drumbeat of the presenters was stop looking at it like that. Let AI help you with what you're already doing, do it better, not some new thing. And that brought so much clarity and just focus back on what we're supposed to be doing and kind of the theme of our conversation.
Yeah, I love it.